I got into nutrition about 5 years ago. I changed what I ate and instantly found that when I changed what I put in my body changed and my mind changed. So I got a degree in nutrition, integrative nutrition, really into it, started to learn about breath, and got invited to a breath workshop about 4 years ago in the middle of winter. Jumped in a 56-degree pool after the breath work and found a whole different depth of pain, anxiety, but also quickly overcoming it, and I got hooked immediately. So from there, started reading books, started consuming YouTubes, anywhere I could get information off the web. I read a dozen books. I found James Nestor's book, Breathe. I read it, and when I finished the last page, I started it over again, and I did that 3 times. I really, really enjoyed the changes in my body, my mind, anxiety, sleep, all the things that came from it. And it was such a simple thing to do that I had to teach it to others.
I had these issues where in the middle of the night, I can't walk, I can't. And my wife would have to get up and we would sit me up and she would hold me. I would sit up on the end of the bed and she would hold me, and I always just gotta sit there for a second and let the anxiety pour out of me because I can't walk and I wanna get up. I gotta sit here and it just builds up, and then it overflows. I don't get that anymore. I don't know if I haven't pinpointed yet. Was it breathing? But mentally, things have changed. So if someone was in this type of a need, what I would tell them is believe in yourself and things will change. Take the tools that are there and change it. Because if I wouldn't have did any of this, I guess I wouldn't be alive right now.
My career started off skiing, 18, 19, 20 years old, professional, semi-professional, freestyle skier, had a bad accident, got into radio, which is a natural progression from skiing, and then from there got introduced to an electronics company where I literally put in some of the first display projection systems for Steve Jobs at Apple Computer, Silicon Graphics, Sun Computer, Visa, and really followed down the technical realm. Shortly after that, moved to Los Angeles and started a business in Hollywood around technical production for television shows, and eventually moved into supporting films as well. But any of the cameras, the big screens you see, all the interconnections between the two, bringing it to life.
It was Sunday, 5 days before Christmas.
Decided I'd go outside and, no pre-thought or nothing. I just squirt down the driveway and the walkway,
I went out to get something to eat. I planned to come back home, wrap up Christmas presents.
Within like 5 minutes of me being outside, if that, car pulls up. The driver and the passenger behind the driver started shooting over the top of the car. Then another guy got out the car on the passenger side, the rear. He had something in his hand. He's messed with something. I tried to make it to the house, to the front door, but I knew I wasn't going to make it, so I cut hard to try to get to my tree in front of my house, and I didn't make it. I got hit immediately in the back, and then I got shot 7 more times, once in the foot, once in the hip, and 5 times in the back. So then I laid there dying.
And I noticed that the hose was spraying out into the street, and I'm like, the hell is Jeff doing? Then when I pulled up, I noticed him on the ground, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I hope he didn't get up on the roof and try to put up Christmas lights or something, I didn't know what to think, but when I pulled up closer, I noticed blood, and I knew something wasn't right. So I got out of the car, and I said, what happened? I knew something was really wrong because by this time all the neighbors were rushing up, and And he said, I got shot.
Now the hard part starts.
So Jeff Broadway is one of those guys that I met on a show. He was working for us, and I just gravitated towards him. He's this big 6'8" teddy bear of a man, maybe a little frightening. He's very strong. He would be the guy that would pull all the equipment together, bring it up into the rafters. We had about a 2-minute conversation, and it was deep. And from that moment on, he worked for us and no one else over the next 10 years. He's kind of that security blanket that I have when I have a crew on site.
The hardest part was waking up in that hospital, not being able to move. And that's like day one, because day one was when I got shot, but I didn't feel anything. I just really wasn't there. But I'm here for this.
Jeff Broadway, we became a little closer over the last 3-4 years in a way that he could call me or I could call him at any point with anything we needed. And it was December 24th, and I get a phone call from a number that I didn't recognize. And then about a minute later, I got a text from his wife saying, Jeff's trying to reach you, it's important. So I got in touch with Jeff, and he said, man, I just want to tell you I love you, but I'm in bad shape. I'm in really bad shape. I've been shot 7 times, and I died twice already. And he said, I just want to say goodbye. You've been a good person. Everybody in your company, they're family. And we cried. We just had a moment and just kind of let loose. And for a big man like that, it was tough. It was really tough. It was tough to hear what he went through. And my mind flashes on what happened that day, where we're at now, and what might be in the future. And through our conversation, we just stayed in the moment. And that made it real. And I love that. I love that.
There were a lot of issues with pain. So my boss, Ron Drews, he said, Jeff, you're going through this pain, man. Breathe with me, I was kind of thinking, I breathe every day. He's like, no, Jeff, breathe with me.
And that was literally it. And that's where it started. And so we started breathing. It was a slow cadence. It's very simple. It's something that we all do every day, generally improperly. But I said, just close your mouth and breathe through your nose. Let's just breathe in and out.
I'm going to change the blood flow. I'm going to change the things that are going on in your bloodstream. I'm going to change some things. You breathe with me, and he would talk me through it. I'm going to give you some things that's going to help you out.
So let's just breathe in and out. Let's put a count to it. And he started counting. And we did that for about 25, 30 minutes. And we got to a breath cadence that's 4 in and 6 out. And it's very, very calming. It's very calming. And it's also a distraction from the noise in the background. It's a distraction from the pain that he's feeling, and a distraction from the trauma that he felt.
We were focused on getting me some good rest, because I couldn't sleep with all the pain. So our focus with the breathing first, him helping me, was going to be to get some good rest. And that's where we started at.
But it also chemically changes what happens in the brain and the body. And after about 30 minutes, he kind of disappeared, and I could just hear him sleeping in the background.
And damn it, I was getting sleep. There was a nightly thing where if I wasn't getting any sleep, I'd give him a call, or he'd call me, boom. I'm out. Breathing, it's working. It's working in front of me.
And I talked to his wife the next day, and she said he slept for 12 hours last night. It was the first sleep that he'd had in over a month, and he slept for 12 hours. And the next day, Jeff calls me and goes, oh man, he goes, I'm sorry I couldn't talk and say goodnight to you. He goes, but I was out, man. That worked. That did it. that just let me sleep. And he's been sleeping almost every night since.
It was kind of like, is this for real? You know, are you really getting some benefit from just breathing? So then the next night we did it again. Now this is not just a benefit, it's more like some things are really happening now. So we go further with breathing, get more intense. I had an issue with dizziness, and I'm talking about a real issue with dizziness where I have to stop. When I was having these issues with this dizziness, and I'm talking about it's a paralyzing dizziness, you can't do anything, and you're already shot up. I just thought, you know, I got these breathing techniques, let me implement one of them. And I did. And I don't get dizzy anymore.
And what was happening is he couldn't help himself out of the bed using his one good arm and the other one for guide. He has no use of his legs. He was getting dizzy and would pass out. And so he would practice that breathing, a very slow cadence. And what we think may have happened is as he was getting out, he was holding his breath. His lungs were damaged from the accident, and we just started his breathing practice, filling up more of his lungs, utilizing more of the air pockets or the pockets within his lungs, filling it with oxygen, and then slowly allowing the carbon dioxide to fill and release the oxygen into his body. And through that process, we believe it allowed him to actually have more oxygen in his brain and his body to be able to lift himself out of the bed. And it stopped. He called me one day and he said, it's gone. And it hasn't been back for the last 8 months.
4 in, 5 out, and you go up. And 6 out, 4 in, you know, you go up. And the damnedest thing, I don't get dizzy anymore. So that was one of my first real experiences with breathing that really helped me. And I'm talking about like not a temporary help or not a temporary fix, but like 7 months in, I haven't had it again. And it stopped that day on that breathing, that night.
I have no doubt that what Jeff is experiencing is very, very real. And it can be very simplistic in nature, but there's also a tremendous amount of science that's baked into breath. This goes back tens of thousands of years in documentation in breath. And every 75 to 100 years, it bubbles up like it has now. You can't go anywhere without seeing a podcast, listening. I learned through Laird Hamilton and Wim Hof and their programs. You can't go anywhere without seeing or hearing about a new program. And it's simple. It's so simple. But the science is what got me hooked, and the science is what I taught and regurgitated in the workshops that I've held over the last 2.5 years. People come in when they believe the science, but when they leave, they believe the effect that they have, which is absolutely real.
You know it's working when you can feel your blood pumping through your veins. And you don't feel that all the time. You know, so those are one of the key things for it. And it was like it was bringing nutrients to all my injuries, and it was building me.
The biggest thing with Jeff was connection and time and listening. And through that came out modalities to help him with his anxiety. And the tools that I have are certainly my words and my experience through experiences I've had, but also breath work. And that completed that connection. And the more I could see it work in him, the more I believed in it, and the more I researched, and the more I could bring back to him. The athlete, they come into this, they want to learn how to calm their nerves before a race, or they want to take a second off their time. You know, it's very measurable results, and they're very incremental. But a guy like Jeff, a guy in recovery, a guy with PTSD, the jump in the progress from breath work is significant the very first day. It's absolutely significant and life-changing.
I felt things in me from breathing that are just like stuff adjusting, cracking, just from breathing. You know, in, deep, and then the double clutch. It's a monster. And it's all helpful. There's no way that you're not getting the benefit. There's just no way, even if it's a little bit. Because first of all, you're breathing. That's what we do every day. That's how we live. So you're doing exercises on top of breathing. It got to be it's a win-win situation altogether.
And from that, you set that spark. So Jeff and I do breathing together every 2 or 3 nights, but on those off nights, he does it himself. Or when he's down with the doctors, when they're moving him, they're like, Jeff, you're going to have to, it's going to be really painful. You know, take a big deep breath. Jeff's like, no way, man. He goes, that's not the way to do it. And he breathes through it. So he's now able to get more help on his own from a simple tool.
I got pains from these gunshots that you just couldn't even imagine. You couldn't I can't put in words, I can't perspective. You had to have them, period. Talk to the doctor, pills. Talk to the doctor, pills. It's right here. See, my whole waist right here is on fire because the gunshots hit all my nerves and everything is on fire. All right here. And from down below here, it's dead. And from up, it's pain. So it's just, that's what I had to live with. So one night we're doing the breathing, other techniques. I noticed pain disappearing. And I'm not talking about where it went away while the breathing disappeared completely. There's one particular incident where I had a shooting pain that would come down right through my gut from like the start of my ribs, which I had 5 broken, by the way, at this time, would start right here, and it would come right down through my gut right here, and it would just, nothing you could do about it, just.
There's hundreds and hundreds of studies done on breath work and pain. And the first thing they say is the breath work is a distraction from the pain. When you count in and out, it's a distraction. And in so doing so, and through the nasal breathing, you're also reducing your stress and anxiety. You're bringing your blood gases into parity and a proper pH. So your body's not fighting itself trying to get to that proper pH level. So you've given yourself the best possible scenario to heal, or to rest, or to relax, or to sleep.
Like the pain was here, and my lungs were here, and my lungs like moved past the pain, just pushed the pain out. It's just like a one-off, you know, because doing the breathing, you get one-offs. You feel good and go back to normal. But this shit didn't rub off. It's gone today. It never came back. And that was a very, very uplifting type of situation with the breathing, because I found something that I didn't have to take narcotic. I didn't have to be all feeling sick, and which is another deal altogether. I had got to conquer somewhat of this ailment just with the breathing. All my natural things, everything is me. In, out, through the nose. And I'm talking about like gone. And I got myasthenia gravis. It's easy to get dizzy. Gone. Never came again.
So anxiety, the change when you breathe through your nose, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the powerful state. That's the rest. That's relaxed state. It changes chemicals in your brain just by breathing through your nose. When you breathe through your mouth, you become elevated. It activates your amygdala. And so either way you breathe touches the nervous system. And so for an athlete who's running and they're breathing heavy, that's really important to run a little bit faster, to get the body, to get oxygen into the body. But if you're sedentary, if you're at your computer, if you're in a wheelchair, It's not important to breathe through the mouth and get the oxygen in and out. It's important to get the oxygen in and let the carbon dioxide build up. And when you change your cadence of your breath, 4 in to 6 out, for instance, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. It chemically brings you down, reduces your anxiety, reduces your blood pressure, reduces your heart rate. And for a guy going through a trauma like that, who relives it every minute, and when you're in pain, we all go to the mouth breathing when we're in pain, which is fine immediately, but if you're in pain for day after day after day, you're causing a very caustic environment where you're not going to be able to heal, and certainly not sleep, and certainly not rest.
The drugs. I don't like to take drugs, pills, pharmaceuticals. So I had to figure out a way to get off of them. I'm already shot up. It's already feeling bad. It's pain, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But now I feel like shit too. All the time. The pain may go away from the narcotics and the pain medicine, but I feel like shit. All of the time. You may see me and think I'm smiling and everything's good, I'm eating or something, but no. It's a drag on you.
And my appreciation for the organic, holistic ways to help people who are seriously injured, heart disease, lung disease, blood disease, autoimmune disease, is significant. The tools are absolutely significant and available. Jeff still has his regimen of pills that he needs to take, but he's reduced those consciously and intentionally as he picks up these holistic, organic ways of help. And his wife, Tiffany, has been absolutely awesome in how she gently pushes that into Jeff's world so he can heal better, faster.
I had to figure out to deal with the pain or feel sick all the time. And I had to make it a choice. And I just didn't want to be sick all the time. So with the breathing, coupled in with the knowledge of there's going to be dark days, I had some armor to go into this battle. You know, like when I take these medicines that say a lot of shit on there, oh, be careful of this, be careful of that. You can't do this, you can't do that. They don't say that with the breathing. You just get to run it. You know, pain reaches a certain amount, I'll go into some breathing, go to sleep on it. I see how I would have tools now. I didn't have to just sit there and take it or dope up. If I get too dark into that mental state, find a breathing, start some breathing. It wasn't the answer for everything, but it's an answer to a lot of things. It would calm me enough to get some rest, put my brain, things would change. The chemicals in me would change. So from one point to the next point, the change would happen. And now we're living here and we'll go to the next point. Because life ain't nothing but moments. So instead of getting caught up in one moment, I'd breathe, whichever the moment may be, pain, psychological, family. All those things do happen, And the breathing would, it would subside some of that. When you're in a situation that's very dark, it's very dark days. Very dark. You're going to be put up against the knife constantly. You're going to be battling with yourself. And you're going to be pushed. You're going to be at that limit. And there's pretty much no way around it. The only thing that helped me was that I knew that those thoughts were going to come. I knew that I was going to have dark days. And when I would have a dark day, I had people I could reach out to that love me, that I love. But the days didn't get any lighter. They're dark. But knowing that they're dark, you get managed through them. But you got to know that they're going to come. You can't just think that it's not going to happen. Or if it does happen, you panic and fall into it. Because it's just like If you would take a piece of paper and draw circles on it and then draw a line from this circle to that circle, it's just points in life. Right now I feel like this. You draw the line to the next point, and right now I feel like that, and so on and so on. And if I was to get caught up in the first circle, you can see where that would go. And to put a more personal note on it, I got family issues like anyone. And sometimes I had to breathe on it. If you're doing the breathing correctly and you got a good instructor, you can actually feel the wellness of it taking over. If you do some breathing in your lifetime where things aren't that good, things turn out to be a little better. Even if they're not on the outside, they are on the inside of you. And I would imagine that's what would matter, is how you felt. One moment you dark, and in that moment, there's another moment behind that. You want to get to that moment. So in that space of time between those two moments, because life is nothing but moments, a series of moments. In that space of time between those two moments, some breathing in that space of time turns the light on a little bit. I took a note of what I felt like right now, and then did a breathing, and then how I felt then. No brainer. It was all right there. I would have to lie to say it didn't work. And that's the only thing I can say is just I got results.
It's frightening sometimes to call a man that has suffered so much trauma. I don't have words when I call him. It's a lot to go through, and although I can understand it from here, I don't understand the darkness. And he talks about the darkness that he goes through. And so I will literally take 5 or 6 breaths sometimes before I pick up the phone, so I can be the best me I can be in just there. I have no agenda. And I think he appreciates that, and I appreciate that to start the conversation. Sometimes we'll talk for 20 minutes, and he'll go, hey man, let's breathe. Or sometimes we'll go, how's your day? Sucked? I'm like, yeah, me too. Let's breathe. And we'll just get into it. There's no set structure that goes along with that.
You want to try to do some breathing. I was lucky enough that someone loved me enough to come and bless me with it.
Speaking through the progression of my breath, as my body changed and my mind changed, how I reacted to work, how I reacted to those stressors completely changed. My blood pressure went down, my heart rate's gone down, my ability to put in 7 to 8 hours of sleep has increased. When I wake up in the middle of the night, I can fall back asleep. The ruminating thoughts have slowed down. That was the first part. And when I started working with Jeff, it really heightened my awareness of how powerful that is. So a number of things happened. We started more formal workshops on a weekly basis around this.
This was a chance for me to help somebody else. How else are you going to get that chance? Unless something happened to you. So I guess this may have just, this little small way, this may have just happened to me just so I can help somebody else, just a little bit of it, because I know this didn't happen to me, So this gives me an opportunity to help someone else. They may not know about being in a dark place and get trapped there. If they knew that the dark places are going to be there already, you can handle it better.
With the breathing, it's settled him, like he said, he would get real sick, he would get real dizzy before, but with the breathing, that has calmed him down. He's more focused. And I even think the breathing has given him a sense of direction, like a sense of worth. I know that may sound cliche, but I do think the breathing has centered him more, because physically, the breathing has helped him feel better. And I think once you feel better physically, then it helps your mental state of mind. So I think the breathing has really centered him mentally and physically.
Have some belief in yourself. And I think it would all start right there. Because in these situations, support group, mama, daddy, friend, at night, you're going to be the only one there. And that's it. No one's going to be there with you. It's going to be you. And you got to figure out what you want. You got to ask yourself the tough questions. You can't lie to yourself about it. You gotta deal with it. And what I would say is just believe in yourself and start from there. That's the only advice I could really give them is believe in yourself and start from there. If you say you're gonna make it, you're gonna make it. If you say you're not gonna make it, you're not gonna make it. It's just that simple. You gotta believe in yourself. Can you make it through this? Or are you just gonna fold and break?
It's a day at a time for him. I don't know what his day-to-day looks like. I don't know what the final outcome's gonna be with his physical self and physical body. The guy wakes up every day and works. He works every day towards being a little bit better, physically, mentally, and emotionally. That doesn't mean he falls down in a pit for a week, for a day at a time. He absolutely does. But a guy like this, I see taking what he's learned, his message, his experience, and putting it into an inspirational form and bringing it to others. He's got not only this story, but he's got an entire life of stories, which is absolutely inspiring.